Hey everyone. So over the next few weeks I'm going to be doing a sort of a series that's going to build from one onto another, and we'll call it I don't know, how to be a makeup artist, something like that. But the premise behind it is there'll be a spoken part of the tutorial, and then there'll be the application side. So we'll do concealer, we'll talk about concealer, different concealers, and then we'll show you an application, and each one will build upon the next. And this is really for people who, I guess, want a little bit more information about makeup, and also those of you who want to go out and do it and kind of know what you're doing, know what to say as well, and what to look for. So I hope you all enjoy and you learn something from it, and keep watching because there's plenty to come and hopefully lots to learn. So the first thing that you need to do when you are working on somebody's skin is to prep the skin. Now, if a client has very oily skin, then all I will do is spray their face with a toner that has some form of water binding ingredients in it, or Fix It Plus, something like that, just something that's going to hold a little bit of moisture on the skin. Now for oily skin, that's all you need. You do not need to prep it any further than that, because the skin's already oily. It's just going to be a nightmare. For everyone else, normal skin, combination skin, dry skin, you're going to spray the face, at least this is what I do, spray the face first, and while the skin is still damp, apply moisturizer either to the parts of the face that are dry or to the entire face. And I tend to apply it just with a cosmetic sponge, something like that, but how you do it is entirely up to you. And bear in mind that I've mentioned this before, but you need to take this into consideration, is like likes like, right? Like is attracted to like. So if you are going to be applying a water-based moisturizer and an oil-based foundation, they're not going to mix. Your makeup is going to disappear. The same goes in reverse. If you're applying an oil-based moisturizer but a water-based foundation, oil and water don't mix. Like speaks to like, so make sure that you know what you're applying. This is incredibly important when you're doing somebody else's makeup, because you want it to last and you don't want it to look like an oil slick or have it sliding all over the face and just never setting. So make sure you always prep the skin, incredibly important, and your makeup will go on much more beautifully. You do not need to buy a separate cream for around the eye. A standard moisturizer is perfectly fine for around the eye. Whatever brand you're going to use, don't buy the really expensive ones because they're loaded with fragrance. You want one that is completely generic and fragrance free, because you don't want any reactions. You don't know who you're going to be working on. You don't know what their level of sensitivity is. Don't risk it. Just get yourself a basic moisturizer. Okay, concealer. Now, I'm doing concealer first before foundation. Now, in real life, I tend to do foundation first, but a lot of you are still using concealer first, and I just want to show it first, just for variety, if nothing else. Okay, now, I'm a big fan of Correctors under the eye because they cover the blue and the purple tones under our eyes very well. So I prefer Correctors, and they come in the sort of peach and pinky tones, and I'll show you some here. Now, this is my palette, and these sort of shades here are bisque, which have a bit of a pink tone to them, and see right here, that's quite pink, whereas these sort of shades are much more peachy. And just think, on fair skin, sort of mine, pinky tones under the eyes look better. On Mediterranean skin and darker than that, peach tends to look better. Now, I don't know where the myth came from that you need to have your concealer 2 shades lighter under the eyes. You don't. If you're going to apply concealer, it's better to apply it the same shade as your foundation or apply a corrector. But with that said, when you look at magazines, you'll see that this part here of the face is always very light because it draws your attention, and this is how you get concealer that's much lighter than your skin tone to work. And I'm going to show you this in the following application. When you apply the concealer under the eye, especially when you're going 2 shades lighter, you're applying it and people just apply it here, and it just takes on a reverse circle, whereas this just a bit here is lighter and it's really unattractive. What you want to do is bring the concealer right the way down here. I know it's a lot, but trust me, when you bring it down and then you apply your foundation, the whole thing blends into one, and this inner section here is a little bit lighter and it just stands out and looks more beautiful. So if you've got concealer that you don't use 2 shades lighter, it's 3 shades lighter. You don't want to throw it away because it's a waste of your money, but you want to get it to work. This is how you do it. I prefer to apply concealer with a brush because it's just my preferred method, but you can use your finger. A brush like this, just synthetic haired brush, you would just apply it under the eye and make sure you bring it down. This doesn't necessarily go for corrector. If you're using a corrector, you can bring it down a bit lower if you want, but it's much better to stay within the guidelines. Now, quick mention about wrinkles and creases. And now, concealer is notorious for making you look like you're 160 under the eyes, and there are ways around that, and I'm going to show that in the actual application, because you'll see that you can get this area really smooth, and much more smooth than you normally would be able to without these techniques. So keep watching and I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to prep the skin. I've already sprayed my face with Fix It Plus, but unfortunately that bit didn't get recorded. I'm now going to go over my slightly damp face with some moisturizer, and I'm applying this with a cosmetic sponge, which is how I would apply it to somebody else's face. The only area that I'm not going to moisturize excuse me, are my eyelids, because they're naturally oily and we don't really want moisture there. Next, I'm going to take a tissue that I've kind of peeled in half, and I'm going to blot the skin, and this step is very important, so make sure that you don't skip this step when doing it on somebody else, because it just takes out some of the excess moisture and just leaves the skin perfectly ready for foundation and concealer. So here we are, concealer. I'm applying a concealer that is 3 shades lighter than my actual skin tone, and I'm applying this all under my lower eyelid right the way up to the lash line, because I've got redness in the lash line. And as you can see, I'm taking it right the way down to sort of the top of the cheekbone. Now next, with my ring finger, I'm just going to pat and press this concealer, and I'm fanning it down. As you can see, I'm kind of blending the concealer down, because when it meets the foundation in the next tutorial, the two will blend seamlessly together, and I'll get a naturally highlighted effect in the center of my face and under my eyes. Now I'm panning really gently by the lash line. Now you really want to make sure that this area is covered, but at the same time you can see I'm stretching my face, that it doesn't collect in any wrinkles, and by continually patting and smoothing and pressing, we're going to be making sure that it doesn't get caught in any wrinkles or lines or anything else, because concealer can make you look about 180 years old if you're not careful. So just tap and press, or blend with your sponge, however you want to do it, but just make sure it's smooth. Next, we're going to take that same bit of tissue the other side, and we're going to blot and press to get any excess moisture out, and this is very important, but we'll be doing this again with foundation. We just want to take away any excess oils, and that is concealer. And I'll see you next time when we do foundation. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.